Sego, welcome to this presentation to help you better understand the community decision-making process.
This DVD is for you, the community member, who has never had the opportunity to participate in the community decision-making process. It is meant to show you that the process is not something to fear, or it's not some place where people are there to yell at each other. It's actually going to show you that it's a place where people come together and deliberate and talk to one another and share and come to a good mind and a good decision on an issue. We wanted to show it to you so that you could see that it's not like the old style band meetings where there's a lot of yelling, a lot of accusations, and we don't do that in the community decision-making process. If you have any questions or concerns and you'd like to know more, please don't hesitate to contact us, the Kahnawà Legislative Coordinating Commission, and you can also look at our website, Kahnawa'keRoDecisions.com.
Good evening, ladies and gentlemen. Tonight we're going to be presenting for your discussion and your approval a law on Kahnawà seatbelts. Do we have the mandate to create a Kahnawà seatbelt law? Tonight we will have the proponent of the law who will discuss why he thinks the law should come into effect or be created. Now, what we want all of you to do, as we do always, is to tell us what you think. We'll separate into groups. We'll have group 1, group 2, and group 3. Everyone will discuss. Each group is expected to come to a consensus and for presentation to the next group. When we have general consensus, that's when our decision is made. There are rules of engagement. Simply put, we ask that everybody act in a respectful manner. We've been very fortunate through all of the hearings we've ever had that people, once we discuss this, they agree and are very happy with that, because you have much better discussion when you speak to people as opposed to people getting up and yelling and screaming, which doesn't work. So that's basically what we're looking at today. Act in a respectful manner. For those who are shy, we're still going to ask what you want. If you don't want to speak, that's fine. You might just give a one-word answer, yes or no or whatever. But really, we're going to give everybody the opportunity. When we say respectful, please keep in mind that we are looking at time constraints. If we went back 500 years, the corn was planted, the fields were okay, you had a lot more time. Today, it's a little different. We have supper to take care of, we have work to do, we have homework to take care of, so our meetings are more compressed. We ask that people be respectful of everybody else's time, make your point, ask your questions, and then we'll move forward. And that way, more people can get in, and everyone will get a chance to speak, everyone will get a chance to participate. So with that, thank you all for being here. We'd like to ask John D. here, who is a member of the Kahnawà Peacekeepers. He is the person who submitted this law to the Kahnawà Legislative Coordinating Commission, I should say. He feels that there needs to be a seatbelt law in Kahnawà, and we'll let him explain why.
Okay, I'm not going to go on too long. There's just a few things that I'd like to say about why I put the seatbelt law into the community decision-making process. For me, it's a safety issue. You know, just looking around the community, you see people riding around, they have no seatbelts on. Some people are doing over the speed limit, and I'm a new guy with the Peacekeepers, so I'm really, I guess, in tune with the law, and I'm fresh out of school, so I know what should be done and what shouldn't be done. And people might say, yeah, it's Kahnawà, we're allowed to do this and that. Well, there was a time when people used to drink and drive. It was a common practice where people get a case of beer and they drive around town with a case of beer. It was commonly accepted. But was it safe? No, it wasn't. Were there people hurt? Were there people killed? Yes, there was.
Each group will have a resource person who can answer questions. John D. would be an example of somebody who would be in one group. Arnold, who's been working with the fire brigade for, 35 years or so, has seen a lot and is looked at as a technical expert in some of the questions that'll come up. So in this group here, Arnold is going to be our expert, and we'll be able to start our discussions. We'll get Arnold.
Joe, I just need to clarify. Today I'm representing the Community Protection Unit, and I'm bringing the experience with the fire brigade. But I'm here as a community protection resource person.
Okay. So Arnold, who is here from Community Protection as a resource person, will be able to help us in terms of technical answers. So what we're going to do then is thank you for that group over there. You guys, group 3, you can hold on. This is what we call group 1, and everybody here will get the opportunity. So we'll start off, simply put, by taking questions and comments, and we write everything down. We have, every group always has administrative help, and we take everything down, and so the suggestions come up. So once again, let's get the ball rolling.
Once the mandate is proposed by the concerned community member, it is now time for the facilitator to start the discussion by asking the main questions.
The question is, once again, do we have the mandate to create a Kahnawa'kehró seatbelt law? We need to talk about that. What are the positions? What do you think?
Well, actually, I always thought we had a seatbelt law. You know, it's so I'm very surprised that we don't have one, considering that people have been concerned, like that poster near the hospital has been up there for forever. And what I would like to know from the expert is that what are the statistics? I know it's a Quebec law. What are the statistics of safety when since people have adopted that seatbelt law?
Okay, once we knew the law was coming, the Community Protection Unit went out and got some of the statistics that will help you about, we look specifically at seatbelt use, accidents, mortality rates, and the Kahnawa'kehró perspective. We do know that most people feel safe within their home community. That's whether it's in the community or in Chattagee, it's the same number. And we know in Kahnawa'kehró that most of the people who don't wear their seatbelts all the time do it within Kahnawa'kehró. Unfortunately, we also know that 90% of the accidents occur within 15 kilometers of one's home. So if you make a circle from 15 kilometers, that is where you're most likely to have an accident, and that is also most likely where the people who are not wearing their seatbelts will be wearing it. There's a contradiction. They feel safe in their home, but in reality, they're not protected. We know that the ambulance calls, there was 1,200 ambulance calls last year, and there was 200 vehicle accidents of the numbers. So roughly one out of every six ambulance calls has to do with a vehicle accident, and of the 200 vehicle accidents, most of the people who were injured were not wearing their seatbelt. So let's go. All right, in terms of this, do you think we need a law? That's the direct question that's out there. Let's go around the table and we'll start with everybody.
Right now, I'm really stuck in the middle because for me, it's more of an issue of child safety. Children shouldn't really have the choice. There should be a law for them. They need the safety, and I think that it's also an issue that has to do with speed. We do have a speed limit here in town of 30 kilometers, and I think that a lot of times that gets exceeded. On a side note, I think that there should be put speed bumps in some places. I know a lot of them got taken out, but there's kids playing out all the time. It's for their safety. As an adult, you have the knowledge. You know that it's better to put on your seatbelt. You know the choice that you're making. But as children, they should have to put it on because you're supposed to be taking care of them.
Would you rather concentrate on that, or do you think that we should look at the law overall?
I think that it should be concentrated on children. As an adult, you should know better. If you don't want to take the time to put on your seatbelt, that's your problem.
Somebody else want to jump in? So, okay. Sir?
Yeah. I've been Former member of the Kahnawa'kehró Fire Brigade, and I've worked with Arnold for 14 years, and most, if not all, of the members, present and past, have been on the front lines to see what the lack of seat belts present. And a lot of injuries are out there. Some are fatal, which could have been prevented. And there are some slow impacts with slower vehicles, and it's shown that seat belts do prevent injuries, whether they're minor injuries or more serious injuries. But an injury is an injury, and any injury hurts. And it costs people time off their jobs. It causes stress from relatives and family who hear about it. So I definitely say that seat belts ought to be mandatory. It makes sense if you're playing hockey, sports or anything. It would be foolish for someone to go onto the ice and play a hard game of hockey with no hip pads on, no helmet, no gloves, because you're asking to be injured.
Well, I think it's a very good idea that there should be a law, because I myself, when I go out of town, when I get in the car, that's the first thing I do, automatically. And I wait till I get back to my door to take it out, because in that time, there still can be somebody behind the impact, eh? And I think what I see this summer a lot is these young kids, they let them sit in the front, they're hanging out of the window. And it's, you know, the parents, they don't realize what this kid is. All of a sudden, if they make a stop, that kid can fly out of the car, and there can be another car behind them, and they can run them over. You know, I don't know what's wrong with these young people today, but I think it should be law. For me, I agree with it.
Is there anything that anybody needs to add in this, that the need for the law? Now, we did say we have a general consensus that people are supporting the laws. Is there anybody who thinks we don't need a law? Okay, so good. The more specific question then at this time becomes what this young lady said. She'd like to see it concentrated for especially kids. You mentioned that, kids hanging from there. From the windows, and I think we've all seen that, where kids are right in the front looking over, or they have babies
in the back. And
they have babies under. Yeah.
I've even seen some that they're holding the baby in there. I mean, you know, common sense doesn't make good for the children, their protection, because they're just babies. It's the parents that should have the more sense to put them in their seats.
So the question I have to the group then, should we bring a law to Kahnawa'kehró and have it so that the peacekeepers then enforce the seatbelt law? Because there is some of that now, I guess, but it's really to make it more specific to say you're doing it. Or do we want to concentrate at this time, a starting point to say all the babies and all the kids need to do this right away? This is up to you guys. Let's go back to you. What do you think on that?
No, I'd say just for kids right now, personally. I mean, if you don't have your kid buckled in, I don't know what the penalization is if you get a ticket, or like can't get your kid taken away, but you know, you get fined or something, or you get a warning, or I think just for kids, because as an adult, it's your choice. You know what's right, you know what's wrong.
Okay.
No, I agree with that. That, you know, children should be buckled up, whatever. But who's driving the vehicle? It's, you know, somebody who's obviously over 16 and has at least a learner's permit with somebody driving with them, or a probationary license or a license. So people, older people, are driving the vehicles. So it only makes sense that it should be a blanket law in the community where everybody in the vehicle wears a seatbelt, you know. And I agree with Abigail that yes, kids should be buckled up all the time, but it should be everybody, just anyways. It's a safety issue.
Okay, any further thought?
Some of the comments that the two ladies said over here was very significant. They say they automatically put on their seatbelts. That's a very significant statement, because when you automatically do it, you practice and you practice and you practice. Thinking on the other side, if you automatically don't put on your seatbelt, that's detrimental because for several reasons, as was said earlier. And also, when you get out of this bubble that we call Kahnawà and you go on the outside, you will get penalized, along with getting serious injuries, because now you're on highways and you're driving along routes that have hundreds of vehicles on there. So the odds of that seatbelt helping you out is exponential.
All right, so far we seem to be leaning towards a consensus. Sir, you had something?
I'm not in favor of any seatbelt laws in Kahnawà. I think it's an individual choice. I personally wear mine as an individual choice in Kahnawà, but I don't think it's a law we should create. However, I see that everybody's made really good points here, and I can live with having a law in Kahnawà.
Is there anything that you could bring and say you think it's a matter of choice? Do you talk to other people about this? Does this something that gets discussed? I know you're coming to this meeting tonight. Have other people said anything to you that I don't like this law or anything like that? Just give us some perspective on that.
Well, I guess people don't want it to be where every single law that's outside of the community is also inside the community. We want to have our own laws. But I guess we're looking at it internally, and that's what we're here to do. Create our own law, so regardless whether or not we agree with the outside or not, this is our community saying they do want a law, so I can change my opinion or live with it.
So, can we say then, in this case, that the general consensus is that we are in support of creating a law? Yes. All right. Well, thank you very much. We'll bring this. We'll bring our position to the second group now.
The process will continue with the groups 2 and 3. These groups will also discuss the topic and try to come to a resolution for the law that has been proposed.
Okay, we had our discussion, our meeting about the law that was proposed, and group 1 went quite well. We had one person that was opposed to it, but the person felt that they could live with it, but the consensus was, yes, we do need a law here.
All right, for group 2, we decided that we talked about it a whole lot. We were going back and forth for a little while, but we finally came up with the idea that the law should only be for kids in the car. That's what we feel. We all agreed on that, and that's where we're standing right now. Thank you.
All right, so group 2, not quite on the same page as group 1. They feel that they're reluctant. So with that in mind, is there anything that group 1 can do that might make this work, do you think? I'm open to suggestions.
For the community decision-making process to work, all of the people at the hearing have to reach consensus on the issue or question at hand. The discussion will continue until everyone has reached a consensus.
John D., as the proponent, are you happy with that? If you can just maybe some closing thoughts.
Okay. Well, that's kind of what I wanted to get to in putting this law into the CDMP. I think it's a good thing that everybody got together and came to consensus. So I'm happy with the end result, and I'm just wondering if everybody's okay with a mandate to go ahead with the law. Is that okay with everybody?
Yeah. We'd like to thank you all very much.
Once consensus is reached at the community hearing, the process now heads into phase 3, where the law begins the drafting process. So as you can see from the video, this process is really not something to fear. You've had the opportunity to see people talking to one another, discussing the issue, and coming to one mind. We wanted to show it to you so that you could see that it's not like the old-style band meetings where there's a lot of yelling, a lot of accusations, and we don't do that in the community decision-making process. If you have any questions or concerns and you'd like to know more, please don't hesitate to contact us, the Kahnawà Legislative Coordinating Commission, and you can also look at our website, Kahnawa'kemakingdecisions.com. Ona.